Continuing with the saga of wiring, we're finally in the main yard, and well, if you can read this number, 11 out of 6. That means there is 11 nodes, like that, 6 lines each. All I have to say is, well, that's nuts. That's 66 pieces of track or turnout that's been detected. All of it. Insane in the membrane. That's my second name. So I basically went around and labeled, and then I have a shadow. Labeled all the pieces of track that would be linked to individual nodes and where, so that I have a correct count and don't miss anything out. And I hope I didn't miss any piece out. It looks like I don't have any spare lines. I had actually a couple of, and then I sort of staggered things around. And the way I make it is I go by proximity, so whatever is closest to the node, that's where it gets wired. Unless, for example, here you see there is 2 out of 4, 2 out of 5, 2 out of 6. So these two tracks belong to this turnout, so I figured then they will all be part of the same wiring setup. Although, I mean, there are exceptions to the rule, but I've tried to stick to that. So 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 6, 5 being the normal, and then 6 being the reverse or diverging. And then these nodes are sort of spaced apart arbitrarily, so I still need to shift them back and forth to whatever distance apart based on the pre-made cables I have. Because I've bought many moons ago on a number of 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 and 15 foot Cat 5 cables, because there is a lot of cables and I didn't want to be making custom cables in lengths and stuff, so it's much easier to, you know, just use pre-made ones, and then you don't have to test them either. I mean, you know, it's not easy to, okay, I should say, it's not hard to make the cables or not easy to make a mistake. I mean, it's just 8 wires, but pre-made cables, you know, they all come, you know, nicely made in factory or whatever. So in any case, I'm going to space the nodes based on the length of those cables and what I have left, because I've used a lot on the other sides, like underneath here. So I have a cable here, it's running, oh, you can't really see that, there it is. It's running underneath the nodes and there it connects, so it was much faster. So yeah, I'm going to start installing now these nodes underneath, and of course I have to make sure that they don't overlap any turnout motors, they don't overlap any feeders, frogs. I have to ensure that I have room to put stall motor drivers too, because all of these turnouts are going to be plugged into the nodes and then be controlled electronically as well. And well, the only thing here that I've noticed is the track here, this last one, is pretty close to the edge of the benchwork. And if you look underneath, there is also the bus lines running underneath the benchwork. So I have to make sure I actually moved these. I kind of adopted a standard of 1.5 inches away from the edge, but I had to move these close to the edge because of the track and the motors and stuff that need to be mounted. So we'll see. I've still left about 3/4 inches from the edge to the wire, so that I can put blocks of 3/4 inch plywood, like that, just smaller blocks, and then the fascia can screw into that in case I need more support. I mean, I don't know. So I've seen some people just drill into the board and then that's all they have, but I think it would be good to have, you know, additional support for the fascia, so that, you know, if you lean on it and then sort of lean over, you don't crack it and break it. So yeah, but there is 11 nodes to install and wire underneath the benchwork, and as you can see, well, there is not that much room underneath there. There's a lot of stuff, but I don't know, I mean, I can move the stuff around temporarily, and then put it back in. I know it's kind of cramped, but it is what it is. Anything else? I guess that's it for now. So I'm just gonna keep updating as I make progress. Maybe I should have gone some other way of rearranging these nodes and distributing the wiring, but I didn't want to have too long of runs. With DCC, I've noticed that, in the past, we've always centralized the main command station and all the things, and then, you would run tens of feet of wire or longer to all the places around the layout. But with LCC, things are decentralized. So this is in place, this is in place, this is in place. I bring the DCC bus to it, and then it does its own thing. I don't need to bring or run 6 lines to some other detector that's on the main board or DCC control center someplace, whatever, centralized the layout. So this is where it happens. And then you just have the signal on the Cat5 going through CAN bus or LCC bus. If I had time and more resources to redesign these nodes, I would have probably made them so that you only have one wire, and that wire would bring both the LCC bus and the power, because the LCC bus already carries a DC signal on 2 pins, so you really need power. And if you can combine the power and the bus into one wire, then that's all you have. You would bring, I don't know, 15 volts, so whatever is your voltage for the track level voltage, you would bring it here, and then this thing would be a booster as well. Because when you think about it, this node powers, I don't know, 6 tracks here. Even if you had 6 locomotives on each track, each one taking, I don't know, 200, 300, 400 amps, depending if you have milliamps, sorry. If you have sound, that's, in the range of 2-3 amps, right? So you don't need that much, and you wouldn't have every single node drawing 3 amps, because it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't have that many locomotives in this space. Some people might, but then it would still be fine. I'm using, for example, laptop power supplies as the DC power, and they're 8 amps. Like, that's a very heavy and solid brick. And I think it's 8 amps, maybe it's more. So there is no way that this is gonna get overwhelmed. And in general, you would only have 1 or 2 locomotives. Trains, 3 or 4 locomotives in any of the blocks. So, and then adjacent blocks would not even have the locomotives. What kind of a traffic would you run on your railroad if you had a locomotive in this block and a locomotive in that block? That's very busy. You might have a locomotive in this block and the locomotive in this block, because obviously spacing, and I don't know, unless you just run a roller coaster of trains. Well, this is all flat. Anyway, I'm gonna start wiring, and then if anything comes up fun, I'm going to make another video. If not, maybe I'll just make a video after everything is done. So, more to come. Rather than bore you with wiring, let's run some trains. Well, a train with some important dignitaries, because we have a coach here, and they're all boozing and schmoozing in there, checking the new line. Well, I don't know what they're doing in there. I'm just an engineer. I have to make sure that they have a comfortable ride. So we'll see if they actually do have a comfortable ride, because turns out some of these micro-engineering turnouts, the point rails don't line up nicely with the stock rails, and they're causing derailments, and I wouldn't have known until actually I started running passenger cars and actually backing the passenger car to the turnout. and it derailed. And then I saw that it was this turnout here. And you can see that the point rail does not line up with the stock rail, because the stock rail has not been cut enough to give a groove for the point rail. For a premium turnout, I don't know, they're not so premium to me, and that's all I have. Well, I have a few Pico ones, and if I had brains I should have gone with Pico, because their point rails are impeccable, and you can see that. But damage is done, and everything is microengineering, aside from 4 or 5 Pico ones. I guess I'll have to go and somehow fix this, even though everything is installed. Well, on the main line. The ones on the sidings and stuff, that's not installed. But let's see where we are. I mean, our dignitaries are approaching the yard limits here at O'Connor Yard and in Harrington. And lo and behold, well, they're entering the yard now. Of course, we're not obeying the yard speeds because there's no other traffic here. So dignitaries are very important. They don't have time to waste. Damned be the rules. But I'll slow it down anyways. And I've realized here that, well, beside that, this is the passenger track. There is a station going to be here. Well, if you come from that direction and you come over there, there is no crossover into the main line. You have to go all the way on this siding and then get off it there. Well, if there is somebody doing any switching here, it's going to be a problem. But let's just, this is the end of the line for dignitaries, because the gate has not been wired yet. So that's the last step, and then I'll have a full loop on the main line, on the middle deck or the main deck or whatever you want to call it. I mean, this is a monumental accomplishment because, well, a marathon session of wiring for the last couple of weeks. Actually, I'm 1 week behind. I should have been finished last week at this point. But, things happen, life interfered, and here we are today. So, hooray. I'm gonna probably tag another segment after this one, hopefully with the gate wired and everything. I have to put the micro switches and whatnot. I'm gonna do both decks, I guess. Install the switches, even though I don't have any track on the upper deck. And then this track automatically turns off with the micro switch, and this track up to here will turn off. I need to cut the rail. And then, basically when you open the gate, cuts the power and nothing can take a dive onto the floor. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.